The dawn of civilization. Babylon's origins in Mesopotamia. Long before Babylon rose to greatness, the land of Mesopotamia was already a cradle of human civilization. Nestled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, this fertile land gave birth to some of the world's earliest cities. The Sumerians, Akkadians, and other ancient peoples had already established powerful city-states, laying the foundation for what would one day become Babylon. The story of Babylon truly begins in the early second millennium before Christ, when it was still a small and relatively unimportant settlement. It was not until the reign of King Sumu-Abum, around the year 1890 before Christ, that Babylon started to emerge as a significant power. Over the next few centuries, a series of ambitious rulers transformed it into one of the most influential cities of the ancient world. The city's strategic location played a crucial role in its rise. Situated along major trade routes, Babylon became a hub for commerce and cultural exchange. Caravans laden with goods from distant lands passed through its gates, bringing wealth and prosperity. Merchants from as far as the Indus Valley and Egypt traded textiles, spices, and precious metals, making Babylon a melting pot of diverse influences. One of the earliest powerful kings of Babylon was Hammurabi, who ascended to the throne around the year 1792 before Christ. Under his rule, Babylon was no longer just another Mesopotamian city-state. It became the center of an empire. Hammurabi was not only a skilled military leader, but also a masterful administrator. His most famous achievement, the Code of Hammurabi, remains one of the oldest and most comprehensive legal codes in history. This set of laws helped unify his vast kingdom, ensuring justice and stability across his domain. Beyond its political and economic power, Babylon became a beacon of learning and culture. Scholars and scribes recorded vast amounts of knowledge on clay tablets, preserving everything from mathematical equations to astronomical observations. Temples and ziggurats towered over the city, dedicated to the gods who were believed to shape human destiny. Chief among them was Marduk, the patron deity of Babylon, whose worship would play a central role in the city's identity. However, Babylon's path to greatness was not without challenges. The shifting balance of power in Mesopotamia meant that the city frequently faced threats from rival states. The powerful Assyrians and Elamites sought to control the region, leading to periods of conflict and upheaval. Despite these struggles, Babylon endured, always managing to rebuild and reclaim its position. By the end of the second millennium before Christ, Babylon had already cemented itself as one of the greatest cities of the ancient world. But its story was far from over. The coming centuries would see it rise to new heights under rulers like Nebuchadnezzar II, leaving an indelible mark on history. In the next chapter, we will explore the reign of Hammurabi in greater detail and how his leadership shaped Babylon into an empire that would influence civilizations for millennia to come. Hammurabi's Code. Law, order, and the first great empire. As Babylon grew in power, it needed strong leadership to unite its people and expand its influence. That leadership came in the form of Hammurabi, who ruled from around the year 1792 before Christ to 1750 before Christ. He was a visionary ruler who transformed Babylon from a small city-state into a dominant empire. One of Hammurabi's greatest achievements was the unification of Mesopotamia under his rule. Through a combination of military conquests and strategic alliances, he brought rival kingdoms and city-states under Babylonian control. He defeated the powerful city of Larsa, overcame the forces of Mari, and even subdued the mighty Assyrians. By the height of his reign, Babylon had become the most powerful city in the region. However, Hammurabi's true legacy lies in his legal and administrative reforms. He recognized that for an empire to thrive, it needed a system of laws that would ensure order and justice. Thus, he commissioned the creation of the Code of Hammurabi, one of the oldest and most comprehensive legal codes in history. The Code of Hammurabi consisted of nearly 300 laws, carved onto a massive stone stele for all to see. These laws covered a wide range of issues, including trade, property rights, marriage, and criminal justice. They established clear penalties for crimes, often following the principle of an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. While the laws may seem harsh by modern standards, they were groundbreaking in their time, as they introduced the concept of state-enforced justice rather than personal vengeance. Hammurabi also implemented economic policies that strengthened Babylon's wealth and influence. He improved irrigation systems, ensuring a stable food supply for his people. He promoted trade with distant lands, bringing valuable resources into Babylon. Under his rule, the city flourished, attracting scholars, merchants, and artisans from across Mesopotamia. Religious and cultural developments also played a crucial role in Hammurabi's empire. He elevated Marduk, the patron deity of Babylon, to the status of supreme god, reinforcing the city's religious and political dominance. Grand temples were built in Marduk's honor, solidifying Babylon's place as the spiritual heart of Mesopotamia. Despite his remarkable achievements, Hammurabi's empire did not last long after his death. Successors struggled to maintain the unity he had forged, and external threats from neighboring powers grew stronger. Eventually, Babylon fell into decline, its dominance challenged by rising forces in the region. Nevertheless, Hammurabi's influence endured. His legal code became a model for future civilizations, inspiring legal traditions across the ancient world. The idea of written laws governing a society would shape legal systems for millennia to come. In the next chapter, we will explore the myths and legends of Babylon, uncovering the stories that shaped its culture and beliefs. Gods and kings, religion and mythology. In Babylon, Babylon was not only a center of political and military power, but also a city deeply rooted in religion and mythology. The people of Babylon believed their gods controlled every aspect of life, from the rising of the sun to the fate of their kingdom. At the heart of their beliefs was Marduk, the supreme god of Babylon, who played a central role in shaping the city's identity and spiritual life. The Babylonian pantheon was vast, consisting of hundreds of gods and goddesses, each with their own domains and responsibilities. Among them were Ishtar, the goddess of love and war, Shamash, the god of justice and the sun, and Enlil, a powerful deity of wind and storms. However, it was Marduk who rose to prominence as Babylon's chief deity, especially during the reign of Hammurabi and his successors. According to Babylonian mythology, Marduk's rise to supremacy was told in the epic Enuma Elish, one of the most important creation myths of the ancient world. The story describes a great battle between Marduk and the chaotic goddess Tiamat, who sought to overthrow the cosmic order. Marduk, armed with powerful weapons, defeated Tiamat and used her body to create the heavens and the earth. He then established the universe's order, assigned roles to the other gods, and became the supreme ruler of the divine realm. This myth reinforced Babylon's dominance, as it portrayed Marduk as the ultimate authority, just as the city's rulers claimed supremacy over Mesopotamia. Religious rituals and temple ceremonies played a crucial role in Babylonian society. The most significant religious site in the city was the Great Ziggurat, a massive terraced temple dedicated to Marduk. This structure, known as Etemenanki, was said to be the inspiration for the biblical Tower of Babel. Priests conducted daily offerings, sacrifices, and elaborate festivals to honor the gods, seeking their favor and protection for the city. One of the most important annual events in Babylon was the Akitu festival, a grand celebration of the new year. During this 12-day festival, rituals were performed to reaffirm the king's divine mandate and to honor Marduk's victory over chaos. The festival included processions, prayers, and dramatic reenactments of the Enuma Elish. It was a time of renewal, both spiritually and politically, as the king demonstrated his connection to the gods and his role as their chosen ruler. Beyond the temples and myths, Babylonian religion influenced daily life in many ways. Astrology and divination were highly developed sciences, used to interpret the will of the gods through celestial movements, dreams, and omens. Babylonian scholars meticulously recorded astronomical observations, creating detailed star charts that would later influence Greek and Islamic astronomy. The belief in divine fate shaped decisions in war, politics, and even personal matters as people sought guidance from priests and oracles. As Babylon's power grew, so did its religious influence. The city became a spiritual hub, attracting worshippers and scholars from across Mesopotamia. Even after Babylon's eventual decline, its myths and religious traditions endured, influencing later cultures, including the Hebrews, Persians, and Greeks. In the next chapter, we will explore one of the most fascinating mysteries of the ancient world, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Were they a real wonder of architecture, or merely a legend passed down through the ages? The Hanging Gardens. Fact or fiction? Among the many wonders attributed to Babylon, none have captured the imagination of historians and archaeologists quite like the Hanging Gardens. Often listed as one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, the gardens have been the subject of debate for centuries. Did they truly exist, or were they merely a myth created by later writers? The mystery surrounding the Hanging Gardens has left scholars with more questions than answers. According to ancient texts, the Hanging Gardens were a breathtaking sight, an extraordinary feat of engineering that defied the harsh desert environment of Mesopotamia. Described as a series of terraced gardens, the structure was said to rise several stories above the ground, with lush vegetation, flowing water, and exotic plants growing in an arid landscape. The gardens were often credited to King Nebuchadnezzar II, who ruled Babylon from 605 to 563 before Christ. The story of the gardens is primarily found in the writings of ancient Greek historians and scholars, including Strabo and Philo of Byzantium. According to these sources, Nebuchadnezzar constructed the gardens to please his wife, Amytis of Media, who longed for the green hills and forests of her homeland. To fulfill her desires, Nebuchadnezzar allegedly ordered the construction of a grand garden that would mimic the lush, mountainous terrain of Media. The construction of the Hanging Gardens is said to have involved a complex irrigation system. Ancient writers described a series of mechanical devices, including water screws and pumps used to bring water from the Euphrates River to the upper levels of the garden. This remarkable engineering feat allowed plants to flourish in the hot, dry climate of Mesopotamia, where rainfall was scarce. Despite the vivid descriptions found in ancient texts, there is no definitive archaeological evidence to confirm the existence of the Hanging Gardens in Babylon. Excavations in the ancient city have not uncovered any remains of the gardens or a structure that matches the ancient descriptions. Some scholars have even questioned whether the gardens were ever located in Babylon at all, suggesting that they may have been in Nineveh, the capital of the Assyrian Empire. Several theories have been proposed to explain the mystery of the Hanging Gardens. One suggestion is that the gardens were an artistic creation, invented by later generations to symbolize the greatness of Babylon. Another theory posits that the gardens existed but were destroyed by natural disasters or wars. In any case, the absence of physical evidence has left the Hanging Gardens in the realm of legend, adding to the mystique of Babylon as a city of wonders. Whether real or fictional, the Hanging Gardens have come to symbolize the ingenuity and ambition of the ancient Babylonians. They represent the city's desire to conquer nature and create beauty in the midst of harsh conditions. Even without physical proof, the story of the Hanging Gardens continues to captivate the imagination, ensuring that the mystery of this wonder remains unsolved. In the next chapter, we will turn our attention to one of Babylon's most famous rulers, Nebuchadnezzar II, and explore the reign that transformed the city into one of the greatest empires of the ancient world. Nebuchadnezzar II, the king who built an empire. Nebuchadnezzar II is perhaps the most famous ruler of ancient Babylon, and for good reason. His reign, which lasted from 605 to 563 before Christ, is often considered the height of Babylonian power and prestige. Nebuchadnezzar's military conquests, architectural achievements, and ambitious building projects left an indelible mark on both Babylon and the ancient world. The beginning of Nebuchadnezzar's reign marked a period of expansion for Babylon. His first major military victory came in 605 before Christ, when he defeated the Egyptian forces at the Battle of Carchemish. This victory solidified Babylon's dominance over the Near East and set the stage for the city's subsequent rise as a regional superpower. Under his leadership, Babylon became the dominant force in Mesopotamia, overshadowing its rivals, including Assyria, Egypt, and Persia. Nebuchadnezzar's military campaigns were not just about conquest, they were also aimed at consolidating power and control. One of his most famous achievements was the destruction of Jerusalem in 638 before Christ, during which he captured the city and exiled many of the Jewish people to Babylon. This event, known as the Babylonian exile, had a profound impact on Jewish history and culture, influencing the development of Jewish thought and identity. Beyond his military prowess, Nebuchadnezzar was also a visionary builder. He is often credited with transforming Babylon into one of the most magnificent cities in the ancient world. His most famous architectural achievement was the reconstruction of the city's walls, which were said to be so massive that they could rival the Great Wall of China. Nebuchadnezzar also built the Ishtar Gate, a grand entrance to the city adorned with images of dragons and bulls, which became one of the most iconic symbols of Babylon. The Ishtar Gate was later reconstructed and is now displayed in the Pergamon Museum in Berlin. Nebuchadnezzar's influence extended beyond military conquests and architectural feats. His reign also saw the flourishing of Babylonian culture, including advancements in science, mathematics, and astronomy. The Babylonians were known for their contributions to early mathematics, including the development of a sexagesimal, base 60 number system, which is still used today in measuring time and angles. Nebuchadnezzar also supported the work of astronomers, who recorded the movements of celestial bodies and contributed to the development of early astronomy. However, Nebuchadnezzar's reign was not without its challenges. As his empire expanded, it faced increasing pressure from external enemies, including the Persian Empire under Cyrus the Great. Despite his military victories, Nebuchadnezzar was unable to prevent the eventual downfall of his empire. After his death, Babylon went into a gradual decline, and its once mighty walls and buildings were abandoned. Despite the fall of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar's legacy endures. His reign is remembered as a time of cultural and architectural achievement, and his name continues to be synonymous with the glory of ancient Babylon. The Ishtar Gate, which still stands as a symbol of Babylon's magnificence, serves as a reminder of the king who built an empire that once ruled the ancient world. In the next chapter, we will examine the decline of Babylon, exploring the factors that led to the fall of one of the most powerful empires in history. The fall of Babylon. The end of an empire. The decline of Babylon, once the most powerful city in the ancient world, marked the end of an era in Mesopotamian history. Several factors contributed to the empire's downfall, from internal strife and weak leadership to the rise of a new power in the region. The Persian Empire. The fall of Babylon was a dramatic shift in the ancient world, symbolizing the fragility of empires and the ever-changing balance of power. One of the key reasons for the decline of Babylon was the weakening of its political structure. After Nebuchadnezzar II's death in 563 before Christ, his successors struggled to maintain the unity and strength that had characterized his reign. The empire faced a series of weak kings who were unable to assert their authority or effectively manage the vast territory that Nebuchadnezzar had built. This internal instability made the empire vulnerable to external threats. As Babylon's power waned, new enemies emerged. The Persian Empire, under the leadership of Cyrus the Great, became the most formidable threat to Babylon's supremacy. Cyrus had already conquered much of the Near East, and in 539 before Christ, he set his sights on Babylon itself. The Babylonians, weakened by years of political instability, were no match for the Persian forces. In a stunning turn of events, Cyrus the Great was able to conquer Babylon without a major battle. According to historical accounts, the Persian army diverted the flow of the Euphrates River, which ran through Babylon, allowing them to enter the city through the riverbed. This tactical brilliance led to the fall of Babylon with little resistance. On October 5th, 539 before Christ, the city of Babylon was captured, and its king, Nabonidus, was overthrown. The fall of Babylon marked the beginning of the Persian Empire's dominance in the region. Though Babylon had fallen, the city itself was not destroyed. Under Persian rule, Babylon remained an important cultural and religious center, and many of its buildings and structures were preserved. However, the power of Babylon was no longer what it once was. The city's influence was now overshadowed by the rise of Persia and the expansion of its empire. The fall of Babylon had a lasting impact on the surrounding world. For the Jews, the Babylonian exile ended with the Persian conquest, allowing them to return to their homeland and rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. For the rest of the ancient world, the fall of Babylon marked the end of an era. The city, once a symbol of grandeur and power, would never again hold the same influence in the region. Despite its fall, Babylon's legacy endured for centuries. The ruins of the city remained an important archaeological site, and its influence continued to be felt through its contributions to law, mathematics, astronomy, and architecture. The story of Babylon, from its rise to its ultimate fall, serves as a reminder of the transient nature of empires and the enduring power of culture and knowledge. In the next chapter, we will explore the lasting impact of Babylonian culture on the world, examining its contributions to the fields of science, law, and religion, and how these innovations continue to shape modern society. The lasting legacy of Babylon: science, law, and religion. Although Babylon's empire fell to the Persians in 539 before Christ, its cultural and intellectual legacy endured for centuries. The Babylonians made significant contributions to science, law, and religion, and their innovations continue to influence the modern world. In this chapter, we will explore how Babylonian achievements shaped the course of history and how their ideas are still relevant today. One of the most enduring aspects of Babylonian culture was its contributions to mathematics. The Babylonians developed a sophisticated number system based on the number 60, which is known as the sexagesimal system. This system allowed for the precise calculation of time, angles, and geometric shapes, and it forms the foundation of our modern system for measuring time and angles. For example, we still use 60 minutes in an hour and 60 seconds in a minute, as well as the division of a circle into 360 degrees. These innovations in mathematics laid the groundwork for later developments in astronomy, engineering, and other fields. Babylonian astronomers were also pioneers in the study of the stars and planets. They developed the first known records of celestial movements, and their observations were used to create detailed star catalogs and astronomical tables. Babylonian astronomers tracked the movements of the planets and predicted eclipses, laying the foundation for future astronomical research in the ancient world. Their work influenced Greek and Islamic astronomy, and many of their methods are still used by modern astronomers today. The Babylonians also made significant advances in the field of law. The Code of Hammurabi, one of the earliest and most complete legal codes in history, set a precedent for future legal systems. The code established principles of justice and fairness, such as the idea that laws should be written down and applied consistently. It also introduced the concept of state-enforced justice, which was revolutionary for its time. The influence of the Code of Hammurabi can be seen in legal systems throughout history, from the Roman Empire to modern Western legal traditions. Religion played an important role in Babylonian society, and their religious beliefs had a lasting impact on later civilizations. The Babylonians were polytheistic, worshipping a pantheon of gods and goddesses, with Marduk, the god of Babylon, at the head. The Babylonians believed that the gods controlled the forces of nature and that human beings were subject to their will. This belief in divine control over the natural world influenced later religious thought, particularly in the development of monotheism in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Babylonian religious practices also contributed to the development of rituals, temples, and religious iconography that would later be adopted by other cultures. In addition to their contributions to mathematics, astronomy, law, and religion, the Babylonians made important advances in architecture and engineering. Babylonian architects and engineers built impressive structures, including the famous Hanging Gardens of Babylon, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. These gardens, which were said to be an extraordinary feat of engineering, were built by Nebuchadnezzar II for his wife, Amitis. They consisted of a series of tiered gardens with lush vegetation, irrigated by a complex system of pumps and channels. Although no definitive evidence of the garden's existence has been found, they remain a symbol of Babylon's architectural and engineering prowess. Babylonian culture also had a lasting influence on later art and literature. The epic poem, The Epic of Gilgamesh, which was written in Babylon, is one of the oldest surviving works of literature in the world. The poem, which tells the story of the heroic King Gilgamesh and his quest for immortality, has inspired countless works of art, literature, and philosophy throughout history. It remains a powerful reminder of the human desire for meaning and immortality. In conclusion, Babylon's legacy is not only a testament to the power of its ancient empire, but also to the enduring influence of its cultural, intellectual, and religious contributions. From mathematics and astronomy to law, religion, and literature, the ideas and achievements of the Babylonians have shaped the course of history and continue to have an impact on the modern world. The legacy of Babylon is a reminder of the lasting power of human creativity and the pursuit of knowledge. In the next chapter, we will take a closer look at the legacy of Babylon through the lens of modern archaeology, exploring how the remains of the ancient city have been uncovered and preserved for future generations. Uncovering the past. The archaeology of Babylon. For centuries, Babylon remained hidden beneath the sands of Mesopotamia, its once great walls buried under layers of history. Stories of its grandeur survived in ancient texts, religious scriptures, and folklore. But it was not until the modern era that archaeologists began uncovering the physical remnants of this legendary city. The first major efforts to rediscover Babylon began in the 19th century, when European explorers and scholars traveled to the Middle East in search of lost civilizations. Early excavations revealed the ruins of massive walls, temple foundations, and inscriptions that provided valuable insights into the city's past. However, it was the German archaeologist Robert Koldewey who, in the early 20th century, conducted the most extensive excavation of Babylon, bringing to light some of its most famous structures. Among Koldewey's most significant discoveries was the Ishtar Gate, a breathtakingly beautiful structure adorned with deep blue glazed bricks and decorated with images of dragons and bulls. This monumental gate, once one of the primary entrances to Babylon, was a testament to the city's architectural and artistic achievements. Today, a reconstruction of the Ishtar Gate stands in the Pergamon Museum in Berlin, giving the world a glimpse of Babylon's former splendor. Another major discovery was the foundation of the Grand Ziggurat Etemenanki, believed by many to be the inspiration for the biblical Tower of Babel. The structure, dedicated to the god Marduk, was once a towering landmark that dominated the Babylonian skyline. Although little remains of it today, ancient records describe it as an immense, multi-tiered temple that symbolized the city's religious devotion. Archaeologists also uncovered remnants of the royal palace of Nebuchadnezzar II, where the legendary Hanging Gardens of Babylon may have once stood. While no definitive evidence of the gardens has been found, some scholars believe they may have existed within the palace complex, using an advanced irrigation system to sustain lush greenery in the arid environment. Whether real or myth, the Hanging Gardens remain one of the most enduring mysteries of the ancient world. Beyond the grand monuments, excavations have revealed the daily lives of Babylon's inhabitants. Clay tablets inscribed with cuneiform script provide records of trade, legal disputes, and personal letters, offering a detailed glimpse into the economic and social structures of the city. These writings have allowed historians to reconstruct Babylonian life with remarkable precision, showing a society that was both highly organized and deeply connected to its traditions. Despite the invaluable discoveries, Babylon has also faced modern threats. In the early 21st century, military activity and infrastructure projects caused damage to the site, sparking global concern about preserving its historical significance. Efforts by UNESCO and Iraqi authorities have since aimed to protect and restore what remains of this ancient wonder. The archaeology of Babylon has transformed myth into reality, proving that this legendary city was more than just a story from the past. Each new discovery brings us closer to understanding the true nature of Babylon, from its awe-inspiring monuments to the everyday lives of its people. In the next chapter, we will explore how Babylon's story has been told and retold throughout history, from biblical accounts to modern interpretations in literature and film. Babylon in myth, legend, and popular culture. Even after its fall, Babylon never truly disappeared. Its name became synonymous with power, decadence, and mystery. Over the centuries, Babylon has been reimagined in religious texts, historical records, literature, and modern media. But how much of what we know about Babylon is fact, and how much is myth? One of the most influential portrayals of Babylon comes from the Bible. The city is mentioned numerous times in both the Old and New Testaments, often as a symbol of corruption and divine punishment. The book of Daniel tells the story of King Nebuchadnezzar II and his dreams, which the prophet Daniel interprets as messages from God. The book of Revelation presents Babylon as a metaphor for moral decay, referring to it as Babylon the Great, the mother of prostitutes and of the abominations of the earth. These religious interpretations shaped the way later cultures viewed the city, as a place of excess and divine retribution. However, historical records paint a different picture. Babylon was not just a city of sin and destruction, but also a center of learning, law, and culture. The negative portrayal in biblical texts likely stems from the Babylonian exile, a period in which the Israelites were taken captive by Nebuchadnezzar II after the destruction of Jerusalem in 586 before Christ. For those who suffered under Babylonian rule, the city became a symbol of oppression. Beyond religious texts, Babylon has appeared in literature, inspiring countless stories and myths. The Greek historian Herodotus, writing in the 5th century before Christ, described Babylon as a city of incredible wealth and size, with massive walls so wide that chariots could ride on top of them. While some of his descriptions were exaggerated, they helped to fuel the city's legendary status. In more recent times, Babylon has continued to captivate artists, writers, and filmmakers. During the Romantic period, poets such as William Blake depicted Babylon as a mystical and enigmatic place. In the 20th century, the city's imagery appeared in films and novels, often as a backdrop for stories of intrigue, adventure, and the downfall of great civilizations. Hollywood has played a major role in shaping modern perceptions of Babylon. Films set in ancient Mesopotamia often depict Babylon as a city of towering ziggurats, exotic rituals, and tyrannical kings. While these portrayals are often more fantasy than fact, they have kept the legend of Babylon alive in popular culture. Even today, Babylon's legacy continues to influence music, politics, and philosophy. Reggae music, particularly in the works of Bob Marley and other artists, uses Babylon as a metaphor for oppression and corrupt governments. Meanwhile, historians and archaeologists continue to piece together the true story of Babylon, separating historical reality from centuries of myth and speculation. Ultimately, Babylon remains one of the most fascinating cities in history, not just because of what it was, but because of what it has come to represent. It is a city of contradictions, a place of wisdom and tyranny, enlightenment and excess, history and legend. In the final chapter, we will explore Babylon's lasting influence on modern civilization and the lessons we can learn from its rise and fall. The Legacy of Babylon. Lessons from a Fallen Empire. Babylon may have crumbled into ruins, but its influence continues to shape the modern world in ways both seen and unseen. From law and governance to language, architecture, and philosophy, the legacy of this once mighty empire endures across time. What can we learn from Babylon's rise and fall? And how does its story reflect the broader patterns of human civilization? One of Babylon's most lasting contributions is its legal system. The Code of Hammurabi, inscribed on a stone stele over 3,700 years ago, established the principle of written law, one of the cornerstones of modern justice. The idea that laws should be clear, recorded, and applicable to all citizens influenced later legal traditions, from Roman law to modern constitutions. Though some of Hammurabi's laws were harsh by today's standards, the concept of structured justice remains one of Babylon's greatest legacies. Babylon was also a center of scientific and mathematical advancements. Babylonian astronomers meticulously recorded the movements of the stars and planets, developing one of the earliest known lunar calendars. Their mathematical innovations, including a number system based on 60, still affect us today. Our division of time into 60 minutes per hour and 360 degrees in a circle originates from their discoveries. The Babylonians' early studies of the cosmos laid the groundwork for later scientific progress in Greece, Persia, and the Islamic world. Culturally, Babylon's impact is vast. The myths and stories of Babylonian civilization influenced many later traditions, including those of the Hebrew Bible, Persian epics, and Greek philosophy. The tale of the Great Flood, for example, appears in Babylonian texts like the Epic of Gilgamesh, long before it was recorded in the Bible. These narratives, passed down through generations, continue to shape literature, religion, and storytelling. But Babylon's story is not just one of achievement, it is also a warning. The city's collapse serves as a reminder of the fragility of great civilizations. At the height of its power, Babylon seemed invincible, yet internal corruption, overexpansion, and external pressures led to its downfall. The conquest by Cyrus the Great in 539 before Christ marked the end of Babylonian independence, showing how even the greatest cities can fall when they fail to adapt to changing times. The ruins of Babylon also serve as a cautionary tale about the passage of time. The grand ziggurats, towering walls, and vibrant streets that once defined the city are now little more than scattered remnants in the desert. History reminds us that no empire, no matter how powerful, lasts forever. Today, efforts continue to preserve what remains of Babylon. UNESCO has recognized it as a World Heritage Site, and archaeologists are working to restore and protect its ruins. Yet modern conflicts and environmental factors threaten its survival. Babylon's fate raises important questions about how we treat our past and whether we are willing to learn from the lessons history provides. In the end, Babylon is more than just an ancient city. It is a symbol of human ambition, creativity, and impermanence. Its story echoes throughout history, reminding us of both our potential for greatness and the consequences of hubris. As long as civilization exists, Babylon's legacy will live on, whispering its lessons to those who are willing to listen. Conclusion: the enduring legacy of Babylon. Babylon was not just a city. It was an empire, a symbol, and a defining force in the history of civilization. For centuries, it stood as the pinnacle of human achievement, a center of power, culture, and innovation. From its earliest days as a modest settlement along the banks of the Euphrates River to its transformation into the most magnificent city of the ancient world, Babylon shaped the course of history in ways that are still felt today. At the heart of Babylon's success was its ability to adapt, grow, and dominate the political and cultural landscape of Mesopotamia. It was a city of visionaries, rulers like Hammurabi, whose code of laws laid the foundation for modern justice systems, Nebuchadnezzar, who expanded the empire's borders and left behind architectural wonders that inspired awe, and countless scholars, astronomers, and priests who advanced knowledge in ways that would later influence the Greeks, the Romans, and even the modern world. But Babylon was also a city of contrasts. It was a place of immense wealth and power, yet also of war and conquest. Its rulers built towering walls, magnificent temples, and stunning gardens. But they also waged brutal wars to maintain their dominance. Its laws brought order to society, yet they also reinforced strict hierarchies and harsh punishments. Its religious beliefs unified its people, but they also reflected a world filled with divine wrath, omens, and an ever-present struggle between chaos and order. Despite its greatness, Babylon, like all empires, was ultimately doomed to fall. The forces that had once propelled it to power, military strength, political ambition, and economic expansion eventually became the very things that led to its downfall. As new powers rose, Babylon found itself caught in the struggles of empires far greater than its own. The Persians, under Cyrus the Great, took the city in a swift and calculated conquest, marking the end of Babylon as an independent power. Though it would remain an important city under Persian, Greek, and later Parthian rule, it would never again reclaim the dominance it once held. Yet, while the physical Babylon crumbled, its cultural and intellectual influence endured. The laws of Hammurabi influenced legal codes for millennia. Babylonian astronomy laid the groundwork for the study of the stars. Its myths and legends shaped the religious beliefs of future civilizations, including those of the Hebrews, the Greeks, and even early Christians. The biblical accounts of Babylon, from the story of the Tower of Babel to the Babylonian exile, ensured that the city's name would never be forgotten. Today, the ruins of Babylon stand as a testament to the rise and fall of human ambition. The crumbling remains of its once great temples, palaces, and walls tell the story of a civilization that reached for greatness and, for a time, achieved it. But like all empires, it was subject to the forces of history. Power shifts, invasions, and time itself. What lessons can we learn from Babylon's story? First, that no empire, no matter how powerful, lasts forever. Civilizations rise, thrive, and eventually fall, only to be replaced by new ones. Second, that cultural and intellectual achievements can outlive political power. Babylon's greatest contribution was not its military conquests, but its ideas, its laws, and its advancements in science and art. And finally, that history is a cycle, repeating itself in ways that we can study, understand, and perhaps even learn from. As we conclude this journey through the entire history of Babylon, we are reminded that while empires may fall, their stories remain. Babylon continues to capture the imagination of scholars, writers, and dreamers. Whether in the pages of history books, in the myths passed down through generations, or in the ruins that still stand in modern-day Iraq, Babylon is not truly gone. It is simply waiting for those who wish to uncover its past. Unfortunately, this video ends here. But don't worry, there's plenty more to explore. If you're still awake, feel free to comment your country and the current time below. Don't forget to check out our playlist in the description for more The Entire History of videos to help you drift off. If you enjoyed this, a like and a subscription would mean the world to us. Sleep well, and see you in the next story.